Okay, it is 7:03 on Monday, January 12th, and I will call this meeting of the Vinyl Square Strategic Action Plan Committee to order. For the committee's records for the minutes, in the room, we have Mike Walsh, Bill Gillette, Saritha, and then on Zoom, we have Laura Lee and Brian Creamer and Evan Belinsky. And we also have, from town staff, we have Nancy McComb, thank you, and Christine Clancy. Okay, and then we also have some members of the public in the Zoom room as well. So the first item on the agenda is any initial public comment. Do we have anybody with any initial public comment?
I'll just wait till you proceed. I just had a couple of questions as we go on regarding, and that will be pertinent at this time, regarding guidelines and restrictions in Vinyl Square pertaining to the restaurants and historic colors, if there's anything regarding to that. So I don't know if that can be addressed later during the meeting.
It's not on our agenda, so if you would like to make the comment, I would maybe have you just come up to the table so that Evan Belinsky, who's in the Zoom room, can also hear you.
Yeah, Evan should know.
As I said,
Could we just get your name
Sure.
and address, please?
Sure.
You can sit down.
Yeah, please have a seat.
Deborah Daly, 10 Leesburg Street, Chelmsford.
Okay.
And like I said, I wasn't sure if it was applicable right now, but I'm just curious in regards to talking about the North Chelmsford and how we're going to address upkeeping that and restoration. Are there any restrictions or guidelines pertaining to colors and with the restaurants there and how we're addressing like historical, or are there any guidelines for that? I noticed there was a new restaurant there and there was a bright mustard color, so I don't know if that's guideline or I just drive by and see that, so are we gonna address that, or is there any guidelines?
Evan, are you able to address whether there's anything in the I'm not aware of anything in the bylaws. Oh, you're muted.
Good evening. There is nothing in the bylaws that's applicable to Vinyl Square. Vinyl Square is not a historic district akin to Central Square. And there are no other zoning provisions that regulate exterior appearance or color. If you recall, this was a former restaurant and continues to be a restaurant. So no zoning permits were triggered.
So there's nothing that we would look at moving forward because it's all brick and now it's painted over?
So if the community wants to pursue regulatory options, there are a variety available, including a historic district designation. But right now there's no restrictions or standards for exterior appearance.
What does the age have to be to make it a historic district to go after that for something?
So generally speaking, it's at least 75 years old, and that's a standard in Chelmsford. In order to create a historic district, there's a formal state process and procedure that is required to be followed. There's feasibility and assessments that need to be done. A certain number of property owners have to participate and agree to be within the district. So it's more than just a town meeting vote that takes place. Is probably upwards of a year plus planning process per those state guidelines to even get the town meeting.
Would that be initiated through what office?
It could be through a citizen petition. It could be through this committee, the Vinyl Square Committee. It could be a designated or dedicated committee through the select board town manager's office. Well, yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're
Deb,
welcome.
just for the record, this isn't the first question that Evan got, because I had 4.
Oh, I thought you might.
So I had 4 people approach me through texts and emails and calls to ask if there was, some were joking about it, but others were very serious about it. Was there a zoning, kind of bylaw out there? So I pinged Evan and he told me the same. We should, as a committee, probably consider what a historic district does, the benefits, right? The drawbacks and some of that stuff.
What I was gonna say is I wanna just be careful because this isn't on the agenda, so I'm gonna take the comment and then I can get with Evan on whether we put it on like our next agenda for a fuller discussion
That'd be great.
as whether this is something the committee wants to get involved in or whether it could be more appropriately handled a different way.
That'd be great,
Okay.
meaning that we're trying to do something with Vinal Square. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other public comment at this time? Okay, our next item was the minutes of September 29th and November 10th, and I have not received any minutes, so I'm going to, I know Laura Lynn was gonna make some modifications to the September minutes that we didn't review last time to just double check to make sure the votes were recorded accurately on the town meeting warrant articles. But we're gonna have to just defer that till next meeting, cause I don't have minutes. So next up, we have Chris LaValle, who is the chair of the Chelmsford Planning Board, and Chris is going to provide an informational briefing about the Chelmsford roadside commercial light zoning and potential application to some parcels in the North Chelmsford area. This is informational. We will take public comment here. I just want to emphasize that if you do want your comments officially on record with the planning board, you'll need to attend one of the planning board meetings and do that there, because that board is not here. He's doing this as a courtesy for this committee. So Chris, I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Thank you. And just to let you know, we are opening the public hearing on this zoning article, not this week, but next planning board meeting is the official public hearing. We are having an informal neighborhood meeting for people to see the presentation and voice concerns this week on Wednesday. But the official public hearing is not going to be till the following meeting.
Where will it be this Wednesday?
Next door in 206.
Oh, okay.
Okay, is that the first slide?
Yes, that is the first slide.
Does everybody see the slide that says article amend the zoning map? If you're not, please give me a shout out, okay?
So this is the official article that we are putting forward. We'll get to more about what specific parcels we're rezoning with a map that's easier to follow later on. Next slide. And
Maybe. Sorry, did I go too far? There we go.
one more. All right. So back in 2022, the planning board worked with the Northern Middlesex Council of Governments, NEMCOG for short, to identify where there are zoning conflicts in town and give some recommendations to potentially fix some of those zoning conflicts. This area that we're looking at now is one of those areas that they identified. There are a number of options to mitigate zoning conflicts. You can create an overlay. You can change the zoning map, the underlying zoning parcels. You can change use tables for a zone. You can do a combination of both, or you can create a new zone. And in looking at some of these areas, we used Kate's Corner as a model for this. because that was the more urgent that was coming before us. We decided that overlays are good for expanding options available to properties, but it really doesn't necessarily fix some of the conflicts. If you're looking to change or restrict or adjust things, the best option for some of these areas is to create a new zone. Because we wanted to be very specific about where we were making changes. We didn't want to make changes to a zone that would have widespread impacts across all of town that we didn't want to impact. So in this case, we did look at a new zone. And as I said, we did use Kate's Corner as a model. You can go to the next slide. And we created this new zone called CBLT Light, or the Commercial Business Light. We did pass it at town meeting this past fall, and we believe that it's a solution for at least some of the zoning conflicts in town related to IA zones being right next to residential zones. We are able to use it as a transition zone between IA and other zones like residential. We can also use it in place of IA. Like we did in Kate's Corner. And it's designed to lessen the negative impacts of those IA zones on neighboring non-IA zones. While developing this new zoning district, in addition to Kate's Corner, we also took a look at this Middlesex Street area near the landing at Chelmsford Mills. We did some drafting as a stress test to see if it would work. We did bring that to this committee before the fall town meeting, just to make sure that it looked right. Nothing official, but we did make a draft of that at the time. This current proposal is taking the work we did at that time in that stress test and now finalizing it. Because I do think that with the passing of the new zone at town meeting and another look at the area, it does look like it's going to be a really good solution for this area. Next slide. So I'm not going to go into the details of the new zone, but I will give you a summary with the highlights. So it is a new zoning district. We redefined or clarified light manufacturing, which was allowed in the IA zone. Some of that light manufacturing is a little heavier than we would like to see next to some residential areas. So we defined a new manufacturing called ultralight. This is more the cottage industry, the craftsmanship type of manufacturing, prototyping. So it's manufacturing on a much smaller scale. Things that you would probably see in an artisanal type of workshop. We also updated the use table for the CBLT, and it allows for more commercial uses and fewer industrial uses. So to provide that buffer and more roadside type commercial areas. All of the related and required changes to other parts of the zoning, we also put forward at town meeting and passed. Dimensional requirements, the SEA overlay, applicability to the zone, property lines, and street frontage. Most of those mirror the CB zone, which is really the commercial district that we would like to have. Next slide. So this is the new ultralight definition. I wanted to highlight in black the areas that we are really focusing on. So it's really high value production, precision fabrication, intricate assembly, controlled treatment, packaging, and distribution, as opposed to larger scale. The examples that we gave here are very related to precision instruments, small manufacturing of medical devices and dental devices, electrical, small-scale pharmaceutical compounding, small-scale wood and metal fabrication. So those are some of the examples. The updated light.
You want me to keep going?
Yep, next one. Again, highlighting the black areas. These are are in contrast to the ultralight. So this does not talk about the small scale, but it is more of the fabrication, assembly, and treatment, packaging, and distribution. These are things like textiles, leather products, plastic items, wood products, things like that that could be considered light manufacturing. So this is the current zoning of the area that we're looking at. The central part of this is the IA area at the landing at Chelmsford Mills. Across the street, you have the establishment, you have the multifamily residences, and then behind that, the mills at the Chelmsford Mills, you have the railroad tracks, a couple other areas. You've got the residential areas kind of bordering it. And so one of the things we wanted to do is also protect those residential areas from potentially some things that would be allowed in the IA district that are a little bit more detrimental to some of the really close residential properties.
Is that?
Yep. So this is the zoning that we're proposing. We really tried, in addition to the changing the IA to the CB light in that central part of the zoning, we really tried to look at what's actually on the ground. So anything that is in the CD district that is residential. For instance, up there in the top where just under the word parcels, there are a lot of residential areas up there. Also in the industrial area underneath the word rezone. A lot of residential areas in there that really should be residential and not IA. Because if those were ever sold, they could be turned into warehousing and things like that. So we really wanted to really bring those back into residential zone. Same thing to the right of the CBLT zone, a couple RCs in there that we're proposing. So beyond changing those to residential, really all of the IA in this area we would propose to switch over to CBLT. That helps protect some of the residential. It gives those mills a little bit more options for commercial properties inside, businesses to come in and things like that.
Chris, could you remind the group what RC is versus some of the other?
Sure,
residential zones?
there is a handout. RC is residential C district. It's medium density general residence districts.
That's duplexes are allowed?
Duplexes are allowed.
Where it was IA and now it's the CBLT, it seems like that's almost more restrictive.
No. So the handout that I gave that we also have attached to our planning board agenda for this week's meeting, I have a use table and it shows that the CBLT district uses. It also shows.
I did send that out to you.
Okay. It also shows where we took the CB things. So if you look at the uses, what we did is we took some of the uses from the IA zone that we felt were beneficial to have next to residential. And then we took a number of uses that were in the CB zone that we felt were beneficial. So we took the best of the IA and the CB, brought it into CBLT, and then we left those things that we felt were a little bit more harmful to the residential or detrimental. We left those out. So I wouldn't say it's more restrictive because in some cases it's actually less restrictive, like if you're talking about commercial uses.
Okay, thank you.
Ready for the next one?
Yep. And this is a summary of all of the properties of what they currently are and what they're going to, what we're proposing to rezone them to. So all of the ones in 1, 2, and 3, 1 and 2 that are IA, we want to switch to the residential because that's what's on the property now. Number 3 is currently IA, but that's a commercial property. And then all of the ones in section 4 are the IA ones that we're proposing for CBLT. And
So let me first take any questions or comments from the committee. And just an administrative note, Laura Lynn has also joined us in the Zoom room, and Brian Kramer has joined us in the room, in person.
One thing. Good. That's it, any questions?
Does the change of the any of the commercial to the residential prohibit any of the real estate or sort of storefront businesses that are housed within multifamily residential on Middlesex? I guess there's I think it's a commercial sort of real estate company. As you move further down Middlesex towards Burkhouse, there's at least 1 or 2 businesses there. Could they continue functioning out of their residential?
I would have to
facility?
look
I would
at
imagine
that
so,
property,
right?
but I don't think we're changing those.
Okay, great.
Don't they get to remain if they're running something today?
So could you talk a little louder?
Sorry, I was just saying that I thought that whatever they're currently at today, they're still allowed to continue
Yes.
at. This is like almost like a grandfather thing, but if you sell the property, that's where.
Yeah, anything that's currently in there today, if we do change the property over, it would be pre-existing non-conforming essentially. But it would potentially impact when you do go to sell or change use. That's why we're looking at what's currently in there now to make sure that it does match.
Something else to note that's kind of good is that mill building area, there are some businesses that want to be in there that are currently unable to run, right? Like wasn't there
Yeah, there are a couple
salon?
salons, I believe, that wanted to move in that couldn't because commercial is not allowed in the IA zone. And so.
So it brings you back and brings a little bit more business that can be there, more user friendly to the general public. Right, I think there's some good things about that.
When we're looking at the ultralight manufacturing, you're also potentially looking at some of the artist studios, things like that can be brought into the mills that couldn't before.
Glass blowers or leather workers, there's a lot of really cool things like that.
And Chris, I saw from one of the use, you can put a restaurant in it, right, under 10,000 square feet?
Yep.
That's nice.
That's right.
Yep.
Chris, I know the initial analysis that you've done is limited to the Middlesex Princeton Street mill areas. Fundamentally, do you think the planning board is going to look at other areas in North Chelmsford? Like, for example, there's an IA parcel right in the middle of the Watton Fields and conservation land and the softball fields. Like, do you envision that you might?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at all of the different areas that were identified as some of those zoning conflicts or areas that are currently IA that might be problematic in the future. And if there's a desire from this group for us to take a look further down into Vinyl Square, we were really focused on that area around that mill building.
Right.
We didn't want to bite off too much at this point, but if this group would like us to work with you to look at further into Vinyl Square and how that might work and what we could do there, we'd be happy to.
So let me ask my question a different way. You had zoning conflicts identified. Was this the only area identified in the North Village area that?
No,
had
I think it
zoning conflicts?
ended up going all the way
It
into
went
Vinyl
all the
Square,
way up.
but I didn't
Okay.
want to.
No, yes, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Laura or Laura Lynn or Evan, do you have anything else you want to ask or add before I open it up to the public?
Nope, nothing here.
Guys, one about process, so that this went before town meeting, we got approved in the fall. And sorry, and granted, I was on Zoom, so I missed half.
That's okay,
Sorry.
so the,
What happens next?
Not quite.
the new zone went before town meeting.
CBLT.
It passed, and it was applied, in that same town meeting to Kate's Corner.
Kate's, okay.
Now with when we did the work with, the prep work and we did the work with Kate's Corner, we also took a preliminary look at this area as a stress test to make sure it wasn't just Kate's Corner that it would work in, that it would work in other areas. And we took that draft and then brought it forward. Yeah.
And this could, in theory, then go a warrant article to spring.
Yes, this is our plan, and
Got it.
this is one of the articles that we will be bringing to spring.
Sounds good.
So the planning board is having a neighborhood input session Wednesday. And then on January 28th and February, whatever the next February meeting is, they'll have a public hearing for the warrant articles. Anything else from the committee or the staff? Okay, if not, do we have any public input or comments or questions?
I'm Jerry Daly from 10 Leesburg Street. I've heard this presentation a couple times, and I just want to say for Chris and the planning board, they've done a great job in doing this and taking it in little pieces, which I think is very, very important. You don't overwhelm people with all of everything. And I think we're doing it the right way, and I like how it's going to address our town. So I appreciate it, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could you hear that in the Zoom room?
Yes, thank you.
Any other public input? Okay, seeing none, I will move to the next agenda topic.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Chris, appreciate it.
See you Wednesday.
So, next on the agenda is a vinyl square spring revival, idea that, Ben Duchesne brought forward. Did I say your name right? Duchesne, I'm sorry.
Duchesne, yeah, I'll take anything.
Okay, so, just as kind of a little bit of background, after our last meeting and Ben, and I think before that, Ben had some conversations with Bill about some interest in doing more community effort in Vinyl Square. And I met with Ben, and then I had a meeting with Ben and Paul Cohen and Adam Volansky to talk a little bit more about Ben's thoughts about perhaps having a spring event or an event at some other time during the year. During that discussion, there was some brainstorming that went on, and Ben has sort of captured that in these charts that he'll go through. Paul was supportive of the idea and felt that having a spring event might be a really good thing for the town, just a town-wide spring event, but hosted in Vinyl Square, because we don't have anything in the spring in the town at all. So that's why we were kind of honing in on the spring. And I did get some feedback from Paul on potential dates, and the only other thought that he had was this talks about like a full day event. Maybe we might need to scale it a little bit in order to get attendance and be able to manage volunteers and police staff and all that kind of stuff. So we may need to scale it down. But I'm gonna let Ben just talk through the slides, and this is just kind of a working discussion. And what I'd like to do is get some guidance from the committee on whether you want to go forward with this in some form. And if we do want to go forward with it in some form, Paul would also like to have a member of the committee work with Ben on it. So I'm the only one that can see my screen, so hang on one sec. Should open up bigger than that. There we go. Okay,
All right. Yeah, so broadly speaking, as Virginia said, I was thinking of something in the spring that we could do. I live in North Chelmsford, and every event throughout the year tends to happen in like the main center, just outside the window here. So I was thinking, what could we do in Vinyl Square specifically that could, be a community event? I do have some potential dates here. I will just, at the start here, as a caveat, my wife's having our third in the spring, so I may not be super, I'm trying to, that's why I bolded the May dates. May would be easier for me to do. April is a little harder, but that is an available date based on what was happening in town.
And just Paul Cohen's input was that the police department is planning an open house with a touch-a-truck sometime in May, but he didn't know the date. I don't know if anybody here does know it.
Tentatively May, it's the weekend before Mother's Day and then Sunday. So is that May 3rd or 8th calendar right now? We're looking right now, tentatively, it hasn't, we're hopefully setting it soon. So
Okay.
Mother's Day is May 10th.
So it would be the weekend before, so that'd be May 3rd.
May
Yeah.
3rd.
Okay.
Is the
And-
tentative.
So the second would not be a good weekend because he's got the second one here.
And we're on a we're looking at Sunday, I think, as opposed to Saturday.
Okay, and then the other comment Paul made was that the Memorial Day Parade is May 25th, Monday, May 25th, so. But we can come back to that after we figure out whether the committee is interested in this.
Okay.
You ready?
And just broadly speaking, like I said, reactivating Vinyl Square after the winter, a family-friendly event to bring, the residents in the surrounding area together, support local businesses, trying to get some community organizations together and present, visible. And some of these other ones was like the larger idea that I had with the touch truck morning, which we may be condensing, but my idea would be to try to see if we can make this a repeatable event, something that we could do every year once we get a basic framework together, essentially. But TBD, I think how this year goes. And so this would be a family-friendly daytime community event, celebrating local businesses, the neighborhood history, right in the heart of North Chelmsford. So originally, if you want to just jump to the next slide too. So this is sort of a redundant slide, but testing this, like I said, a scalable event model that we repeat every year, mainly focusing on increasing foot traffic. I feel like foot traffic is lacking in Vinyl Square most times of the year. Support local businesses, encourage community connection. It's time to be safe and family friendly. If you want to jump two sides ahead, I'll jump over to the potential schedule. So I think some of these earlier times could be, nixed, as Paul said, condensing it. During that meeting with Paul, he was the one that brought up the touch truck because he was saying that you should be family friendly, which I agree with. However, if we're shortening things, the sort of main 12 to 3 time block there would be the main focus, like the main event. And that would be just like a spring festival around Vinyl Square, in the grassy area, where we could have vendors, the local businesses could have a presence. We could have some sort of, booth set up for those local businesses. I'll be working with any of those local businesses within Vinyl Square to see sort of what they would be interested in doing. I also thought about maybe some sort of moment during the revival event. So I don't know if there's going to be a separate clock tower, unveiling or ribbon cutting or something like that. We could do it then. Or we could do something more repeatable, like a kids parade, for example. Then it winds down, ends 3 or 4. So a nice 3-4 hour time block is probably more manageable than like a full day festival, which is what we originally had in mind. If you want to go to the next slide, sure.
I'll come back to it.
This was just originally we had the mill buildings involved and like the touch truck in the morning, speaking to the previous slide. But if we were to condense it, it would be mostly around, in the yellow there, the Vinyl Square, the grass, the field, and the surrounding businesses. Potentially, talking with Paul, we could get a street closure, because if any parents with young kids know, once your kids are in the grass, they immediately want to run around, and having one defensible position, one street closure would be easier than two active streets. So just getting one would be, sort of a lightened blow for parents.
So may I just jump in for a minute? And Evan, I'm just gonna ask you also, so when we had the discussion with Paul and Evan, we didn't have any slides, we were just taking stuff around. I don't know, like you have this laid out sequentially, and if it's condensed, I don't know that you necessarily have to pick one. Cause I thought we were talking about more like having things happening in parallel. Like when Evan brought up the idea of could we get a trolley, it was so that people could trolley down to the mills and touch a truck and get some foot traffic down there. So it just may be another way to think about it. It might not be like an all or nothing in a condensed timeline. We might be able to do some things concurrently. Was that, Evan, is that your recollection?
Yes, that would be my recollection as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could certainly have morning event or different events in the mill building, in the parking lot. I was thinking touch a truck because the families, and also there's a lot of room in that mill.
Oh, absolutely, that's what he said.
However, he said, there's already a touch truck in May. So I'm thinking maybe we want to do something different. We can think of, brainstorm other ideas besides a touch
And that's for the police department open house.
Right.
So it still may be a worthwhile idea for this, because what Paul was thinking was if you have something going on the square, concurrently, you could have a touch a truck down at the mills, and that would get people to go down to the mills and see the businesses in the mills and do the walk, the mill crawl, like you had idea.
Yeah.
And maybe if you had something happening toward the senior center or somewhere else, that's when, like Evan said, oh, well, maybe we could figure out how to have a trolley to help bring people around while these events were going on for a couple of hours concurrently. And you could still have like a parade or, kids parade or some culmination of it at a certain time in the square that people come back to. But I just don't want you to feel like we need to just pick one thing if we reduce the time frame down.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think what the people were envisioning during that discussion, and here's Paul, was that things would happen more concurrently. Paul, come on up to the table. There's a chair here. Well, go ahead and finish and then we'll come back around to it.
So looking at the community organizations around Brown Square, the businesses, try to work to make sure that there's children events, family events. I would love also like Navigation Brewing, for example, some sort of like adult draw as well, like a brewery booth. There's also Modest Roost just up the street in Tingsboro we could contact. As emphasis on safety, as I said, low stress, especially if we can get that road closure, and then just try to envision sort of a walkable layout for Bonner Square and sort of get people imagining what it would be like to visit Bonner Square more often, essentially. And that's essentially it. I mean, I just talked about, how we'll coordinate with town departments, make sure that we're, working with police, fire, DPW. I'll work on volunteer staffing, and we can get a plan together for that, a cleanup plan, and finalize the schedule essentially. And then at the end, you did mention the website. So I build websites for all of them. That's what I do. So that's sort of like my frame of reference on how to plan something logistically. Like for example, if we needed to find volunteers, it's a lot easier to find volunteers if they can just raise their hands and sign up. We just certainly don't need a website, but that's usually my step one is, before any venture, any project is like, all right, let's get a website so we can talk about it, especially if this is a repeatable event. We can get an audience and get people interested in talking about it.
We'll need to get some guidance on whether we can do that from open meeting law concerns and everything else.
Yeah.
So Paul, before you came in, so I was just trying to speak a little bit for you from the discussion we had that you liked the idea of having a spring event. And we were just talking about the linear timeline and the thought that you had that we need to condense it, but what Evan and I recall from the discussion was that we didn't necessarily have to have that it wasn't a linear, it was do some things concurrently, so people could be in the square, they could go down and touch a truck and see the mills and come back to the square or whatever. So that's kind of where we are, and now we were gonna just open it up for committee discussion unless you wanna add anything.
Yeah, my only concern, I understand they don't have to be linear, but I just think having an event from 8 to 4 is just a long.
It's too long.
It's just a long, yeah, and that's why I thought,
Closure, sorry.
yeah, especially closures and other things, that's why, I mean, whether it's Fall Fest or or other things, it should, that would just be a
Even the
long
Fall
duration.
Fest, is that like 2 hours or is it how long is
Yeah,
it?
it's in the afternoon from like 1 till
We still
5.
We shut down, I think, what, 11 till 5,
Yeah.
so it is well, that's what because also you have to remember the setup and take down, so
Right.
I think the event itself is 3 or 4 hours,
Yeah.
but it's like a
Right.
5-hour
Right.
shutdown.
Right.
And here is a very unique intersection with so many roads converging that you have, I guess we haven't even thought about shutting down. That's something to think about, like what, do you shut down Route 3A, do you shut down Middlesex, I don't, you can't, you have to.
You gotta get state approval if you're gonna try to shut down the state.
And that's the
roadway.
thing, is it's state approval, and we're still working on state approval for the clock, so it's just gonna take time to, but I mean, it's a great idea, it's just that there's a lot of planning, I think, that goes into the detour shutting down with state approval.
So any other comments from the group?
One comment, if someone can remind me, I'm trying to remember, the Memorial Day Parade is in North Chelmsford this year, correct? I was trying to remember if we.
Yes, it
I
is.
thought-
Yes,
Okay,
it is.
because of that, I'm gonna say like the North Town Hall volunteers are all wrapped up. We do an event after the parade. So I would want to see those very separated. Plus, you're gonna have a lot of people in the center for that May 25th date. So I think going on the earlier end, if we're gonna do this in the spring, would be better. Probably like the April 11th. Yeah, and I kind of agree with the condensed. It seems like a long period of time for not that many activities. At this point in time, it's the first I've heard of it, so I'm thinking like, what could we do at North Town Hall? I don't have any ideas at this moment, but we'll think about it. And then I would just want to make sure that it's volunteer resourced, because as you know, that's always a challenge, always a challenge. Any people we have that work on North Town Hall, I would have to keep for that, I think, because we have a pretty small group of people at this point.
The only comment I have too is timeline, is that I know we're trying to target for the clock it's the clock, and I guess I call it the pocket park as well, also the charging stations in that parking lot. So we're trying to push to get that done for Memorial Day, or I'm shooting for early May, so I guess the only thing is there might be some construction in the center, really at the back of the sidewalk in April, so, which I don't think is.
If we had to, we could rope it off though, right?
Yes, yeah, it's just gonna be, there will be some construction. The target is, my guess is it's going to be sometime between middle of April and first week in May, to do all that work. I mean, it's gonna be, it's not that much work, it's really weather permitting.
Hopefully we have a good spring.
Hopefully a good spring, cause it's really, honestly, if I could get in there next week, I would. But Mass DOT has a moratorium, so we can't dig in there right away. So I'm hoping it's lifted April 1st, but it might be April 15th. So as soon as we can, we'll get in there, go do the conduit installation, and then we're gonna basically demo part of the pocket park, do the foundation. So we're talking probably 2 or 3 weeks to go from trenching to a full pocket park with a clock. So this is something to think about. And then also long-term, this, we have Vinyl Square project, so that's gonna be taking place, I hope by 2028, so in a couple of years, this will be under construction too, the intersection.
When is the parade? Memorial Day parade?
Memorial Day is early this year, I think it's the 25th.
25th.
It's on that Monday, right?
Yeah, it's a Monday, the legal holiday, which is as early as it can be, because it's the last Monday in May.
And I know, let's see, is that Laura? I know you were saying not that weekend, but if it was collaborated into that weekend, that's kind of a weekend for people to want to do things, because.
It's also, we can let people go away. They're not in the
Yeah,
community. That's the other thing.
there's a
People
ceremony
take
and
advantage,
everything with the parade.
Right, and then a lot of people take advantage of the holiday, and therefore you might miss a lot of your neighbors because they say, hey, it's a 3-day holiday weekend, we're gonna, kick off to the lake, you know, you
And I-
probably go, no, right, I'm not knocking it, but it'd be nice.
Well, I think
I'll be home for this one
around
though, if you're gonna do the clock.
the Memorial Day parade is really a more solemn event.
Yeah. Right.
And I'd be reluctant to
Right.
mix in a big festive thing
Very
because
good point, yeah.
And a lot of places do it though,
I
right?
know.
A lot of communities do. I do like the idea of a more truncated timeline. I think 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. is a pretty long time. Having things concurrent is pretty big because it widens the people that are gonna be there and them wanting to stay at your event if it's a more shortened time frame, like sometimes like 4 hours. You know, but having people being able to go from point to point, I don't know, were you thinking about doing any music or anything?
I was, yeah, hoping for some sort of music in the park. And
Yeah.
stuff like that.
And anything for like crafty type of things for people to do, to be engaged? Like
Yeah, some sort of, I was thinking family, like kids, crafts, and that.
I do like the idea though of encompassing like the mill building area and just that whole community thing and the travel and letting people really know what the space is. I think that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm for this. I think time frame's hard because that would be really quick to when those dates show up. It's not that far away.
Mm-hmm.
Is this something that requires budget? Like what type of monetary?
That is a good question, I didn't know. I mean, in terms of like, you know, my time and organizing it, that's obviously not a problem.
Yeah, more thinking of like what
well,
costs.
if you need a trolley,
Yeah,
that
right.
probably requires budget. If you're having music, are you getting it donated or is it, you know?
Police.
Police detail. Well, Paul already felt comfortable with that part. But we could swing that.
Where does a trolley come from?
We don't know.
That's
ideas, so maybe it's his action.
I'm gonna slip that into the capital budget this year.
But I think anything in that area would be nice to see. If more people are exploring the space. Maybe they go into the businesses a little bit like that, or some of the restaurants showcase some of their stuff outside. Or like there's tasting
Right.
events around where other communities do that. I don't know if there's something, to do, but I like it.
Yeah.
And I really like the idea as well. Appreciate you bringing it forth. It is probably hard to plan through the outdoor, you know, having people at tequilas and rosies and, you know, could you do something with the new restaurant out there? Maybe we can talk to them all.
I've been to some place where they do a scavenger hunt.
Painting party.
So you get like a list of things to find, so you have to go into a business to go see maybe the picture on their wall or
But
something.
it
like
is
that.
really hard with the state owning. the
Road,
road.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think maybe so right now we're getting a permit just to dig a trench and it's taken some time, so I guess I have to explore what it takes to shut down. And this is something more to talk to the police. We have a traffic committee meeting, I think, next week, so maybe we add it to the agenda just to talk about the feasibility and logistics of it. And I guess the thought is, do you shut down Route 3A or do you shut down Middlesex?
Which one's easier?
Yeah.
So,
Middle-
so let's think about it for a minute too. We used to do a field day, movie night, whatever it was called, at Varney.
That was a good idea.
Joe, were you? No? Yeah, he used to run it.
Just as
Joe-
I
Joe
did,
Tierney.
sorry.
The park up there,
Mhm.
right? They can park trucks. You could then have people even you could come down to the square that way,
Mhm.
right? But you on the sidewalks, you wouldn't have to close the door. You could certainly go down to the mills. You could go over to the park just like they do for the tree lighting. All could have, police going across for the mill and going across to the park.
Mhm. Mhm.
There's a library there too.
Yeah, just gonna coordinate
The
baseball.
library.
Between-
Baseball may have already booked it, but
Right.
just kidding.
True, yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
Brian, did you have anything?
I think it's great, man. I really do. I think it's great. Fundamentally, it's a great idea.
I think it's a good idea, because that April 11th, it could be snowing.
Yeah.
So no one's really gonna walk around, that's still a concern, I would rather push it.
Yeah, I
It's
also
May.
rather push it, but
Well, because Memorial Day's early, you have the 30th or 31st weekend, but now it's just a normal weekend. Maybe it's the weekend after Memorial Day.
That was one of the dates that was on
Is
here.
that, when do the graduations start?
But then you lost a lot of kids like Paul.
Yeah, then we
so,
got
yeah.
graduation.
I think it's a great idea. I like the energy. It's great.
I mean, the other event, I know there's a walk in, October, with the Halloween walk,
Kids parade.
the kids
Yeah.
parade. I wonder if there's anything you do. I mean, it's good to have the spring event, but I see that, spring is tough, because you could have rain and mud and
Yeah.
snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta stay
Let
away
me
from
just see if there's
Easter
any
and
other
Mother's
comments.
Day.
Laura Lynn, did you have anything? Laura
Can you
Lynn?
hear me?
Oh, there, now we can, yes.
Yeah, you're cutting it out, Virginia. I'm sorry, but could you say that again?
I'm just asking if you had anything that you wanted to add.
Not at this time, no, except that I've wanted a spring event forever. So I am very, very excited about the idea.
Okay. Evan, did you want to add anything? Take that as a no. And Laura, are you okay, or you have more thoughts? Okay.
The only other idea for timing is, spring technically goes what, June 20th, is if you there's a period of time when school gets out, you haven't quite hit the summer. Like, do you do something like a movie night? I know you're competing with a lot of end of school activities, but because it's, the weather then is much more reliable. And you're now a month separated from Memorial Day. But
That Barney thing used to get a lot of people.
Yeah.
The what?
The Barney.
Yeah.
What time of year was that?
it was in the summer.
It was in the
Yeah, I know that the CPAL does their movie night in August, and that's very well attended.
Right from school start.
And so it's just a thought, like if you were to do something to incorporate the center, but also have like a movie night or some focus for kids. You might find time in June. It's tough, because you're getting close to the 4th and you have schools, but just something to think about, because Memorial Day is so early this year.
Paul, what's your thought about timing?
The problem is, young parents know is, there's never a good time. You've got the youth sports kicking out in the spring. And that's a truncated season because the weather usually rains, right? And as we were talking about, it's snowing or raining in April, because youth baseball always get messed up, and then
Right.
soccer and everything.
These were the dates that we
Yeah.
had.
And the problem is you got Easter, and then you got Mother's Day.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
Memorial
why,
Day. That's why you have those.
that's why I have the dates because of Easter and.
Yeah,
Easter and
Father's Day,
Friday,
yeah.
Yeah. So that's why, you know.
Dances, school dances.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And
you're
the-
looking
and-
at June 13th would be like, his Father's Day is the weekend after.
Yeah, and then you're running into,
Unless you do that June 20th, which is Father's Day
then if the kids
Saturday.
are out, then
Yeah.
the kids are out of school, then it's hard.
It's still early enough that people haven't really left.
We're gonna have stuff.
No, I'll probably be on vacation at that point. I think a lot of people, particularly if you have college students, you go on
Right.
vacation in June.
So what are we thinking?
June 6th.
What?
I said June 6th, I'm joking a little bit.
When is Easter?
Easter's
It's
early
early,
this
it's
year,
the
the 5th. That's why the date was the 11th, because, so you're after Easter. And
So why not the 16th?
Yeah, like the 16th,
May 16th.
May 16th?
Mhm.
What do people think about that? To try to find
It's the weekend before Memorial Day, so I mean, we're gonna have people there the next week, so I think that's too tight, personally.
Then you also.
Well, that's not gonna work for everybody.
I mean, you have May 3rd, I know is the police station's event, so you have the May 2nd. You might hit, that's the thing, is sometimes people want to take the kids out both Saturday and Sunday. Or sometimes people take their kids out both Saturday and Sunday. If you had non-competing events, like 2 touch-a-trucks, that might be. But if you say movie night, or movie or music, and then the next day, I know police is focusing on touch-a-truck and their open house. So May 2nd is still somewhat separated enough from Easter. Usually by May, you have a little better weather too. Hate to see snow, no.
Yeah.
Do Father's Day weekend, or just have people separate?
I guess I'm still, I'd like to kind of move this along, but what are we thinking? Is May 2nd not compete, does that not compete enough with the police event?
It's the next day, so.
I think it's too close. I mean, don't you want separate? I mean, you wanna bring people to the center.
Well, okay, so we've got, it's too close to the police, and then we've got the 16th and the 30th is too close to Memorial Day, so, and June is out.
We have April, what's April 25th?
A baby.
That's March. I mean,
Because I think that is the end of, or maybe, I'm not sure when school vacation is this year.
yeah, also
It's vacation week,
week.
it's vacation week.
I also excluded the weekend before and after
After
school vacation week.
So
because
that-
School
that's probably
vacation is the week
that.
of the 20th.
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
might get a lot of.
How long is the police thing?
And what's wrong with June 6th?
And is it just at the police station?
So I think
Yeah,
it's
like,
the
why
police-
can't you do it the,
Why can't
Yeah,
it be the
so
2nd?
every other year DPW has started hosting a touch a truck event, and we had 650 people show up in the rain. So
Nice.
instead of us hosting a DPW event, we're thinking of doing a large touch truck event with, basically to tag on to the police station's, open house. So, I mean, we had 650 people, I know with CPEL they have, so I just, historically, with anything touch a truck, we do it for large tournament.
And the hope is that the court's behind the police station.
Yeah, and also the courts should be done, so it'll be the courts, we're gonna show up the courts. May
Third.
3rd, it's a Sunday, I think we haven't set a time yet, but we're leaning towards the afternoon because of lacrosse in the morning, or we're still looking at the timing.
so why couldn't you have it?
Well, like I said, we can, think of something other than,
Yeah, Bill, what?
Why couldn't you do the second?
That's why I'm asking, why
Yeah.
can't we just do the 2nd?
To touch a truck.
well, no, that's what I
Well,
was
maybe
gonna
don't
say.
do, maybe don't do a
Yeah,
touch truck,
not
maybe do
touch truck.
something else, like.
Yeah.
Touch a truck brings the people there.
Right, just-
Yeah.
They're also different ages too, so as a touch a truck is mostly for 6 and under, sometimes the older movies, you'll get all the way up to the teenagers, so. So maybe movie night, or maybe afternoon, I don't know, kind of, yeah, that would be, you'd have that at night, but you would do that. Depending on, I guess, what the theme of the event is.
So if we shot for May 2nd,
Second, yeah.
and there would be some event down at the mills, whether it's a touch a truck or a mini touch a truck or something else to draw people to the mills. Are people okay with that? Is it shooting for that date? That gives us some separation from Memorial Day. And it's a little clearer from muddy and snow weather potential. Anybody on Zoom object to shooting for May 2nd?
Yeah, that works at Northtown Hall. We have someone in the hall at 6 o'clock, so we're fine. We'll have time.
You mean a separate function?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
but not until 6 o'clock, so that would be plenty of time if it's a thing during the day, and then
Oh, okay.
we'll have time to clean in
No,
between.
So-
Gymnastics.
So I think where we wanted to go next with this is there somebody that could volunteer to work with Ben on kind of refining this plan, and we'll close on it at our next meeting? And then move out?
Want to co-do this?
Sure.
Is that okay with you, Ben?
Brian
And
and I
they have a lot of
Yes.
experience too with how they've coordinated things and
Yeah.
stuff. If we can't do a website, they might have a cadre of volunteers in the background.
We got an email list.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay, that would be great.
We'll
So-
call in Joe too. He's got some.
Yeah, Joe will help. So Brian and Bill, and then, we'll come back at the next meeting and we'll just wrap it up
Yeah.
and push go. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys.
Do you need us to come back with a budget? What are the critical, other than moving forward and saying, giving this a rubber stamp yes?
I think, let me stop sharing so you can see everybody. I think the critical thing is kind of wrap up the plan. It's not gonna be linear, like what do we wanna do and what kind of timeframe. And then, yeah, if there are things that are gonna require a budget,
Come back. Sounds good.
do we have any idea how much that is and what they are?
50,000.
but other.
Yeah, okay. And is it a trolley or is it golf carts or no wheels? Could we get the golf course to volunteer golf course to get visibility to the golf course? That was another thought I had. But I'll let you guys figure that out. Okay.
Yeah, I know I need to talk to my boss, but I think we're definitely excited.
Yeah. And I like what Bill was saying about if you have 3A, there's more that way. If we can shut that part of the road off, so.
Right.
Yeah, and I guess Nancy, if you have inputs, like get with these three guys. and
Okay.
More the merrier.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, I'm gonna move on to the next agenda item, which is the, Christine Clancy is just gonna give us a quick orientation to what's been happening with the Main Street redesign and the status of it, and it's something that we will, dive deeper into in subsequent meetings in the next couple months. So.
Thank you. As far as the Main Street Improvements Project, this has been discussed at least for several years. We did do some sidewalk work up by, from School Street towards the Westford line. But we've always looked at really improving, the road also has to be redone as well, but also improving, conditions across the board for pedestrians, all various users, bicyclists, and seeing where we can do it on Main Street, between Groton Road and School Street, and including those intersections as well. Given the, I know we've always talked about would this be another TIP project or something through Mass DOT? We're advancing the final square of that effort. It just sometimes takes longer to do that process. So what we did at DPW is we said, well, let's take it through I guess we call it a town design. We did hire a consultant. GPI was hired to do the design because really this requires a holistic assessment survey. They're looking at crash data, looking at connectivity, existing connectivity and gaps, and making recommendations. So it was $195,000 right now, funded through design. That's what we have funded. Where we are right now, they've completed all their assessment work, all the field work, and they've put together a preliminary concept report with their assessment findings and recommendations, and also some preliminary costs. We have that report right now. We're reviewing the final draft. It is something that I will be presenting to the select board and to this group. It's either in February or March. I'm still trying to pin down an exact timeline. And we also have started a FY27 capital plan. This was one project to put forward in our plan. It was a very competitive capital planning process. We have our needs outweigh our availability of funding. So what we did when we were putting together the request, the estimated cost for this project, Main Street, is about $1.5 million, including the intersections of School Street and Groton Road. So, sorry. So what we said is, how about we submit it in 3 phases? And that's really what was put forward in the design plan. So each phase is about $500,000. We haven't determined yet what side we start on. Do we start at School Street and do we end at Groton, or do we start at Groton and work our way back towards School Street? But really, we're looking at this as a 3-phase implementation, just purely based on the cost. $500,000 itself is a lot to spend on the project. And I already kind of touched base on this. The project goals: complete streets approach, so looking at improved access to all users, so pedestrians, drivers, vehicles, and bicyclists. Roadway restoration, and also creating a continuous sidewalk that is safe for people walking along Main Street, and connections, on either side of Main Street. Traffic calming, historically there has been some crash history and some speeding issues, so looking at where we can provide traffic calming measures to make it a safer corridor. And then with also this process looked at pedestrian use locations across the whole corridor, so just about under 1.5 miles. And there's certain areas along the way where there's high pedestrian use or crossing along Main Street. So tonight I'm not going into the details of the assessment because I want to provide that when I do the update to the select board, but I just want to give that kind of background Next slide, please. And this is taken from the draft report. This just shows the limit of work. So between School Street, including the overpass where we have Route 3, and then also all the way to Groton Road.
So nothing is occurring at the very end, like where Groton Road and Route 40 is and Main Street hit, because that one I think showed like a bunch
So
of
it
accidents.
includes the intersection of Groton Road and Main Street and the intersection of School Street and Main Street.
Okay, thank you.
It does. Next slide, please. And so this was also taken from the report. This is an existing condition, looking at the existing sidewalks, the existing crosswalks, and the sidewalk gaps. So as you can see, anything here shown in red, there's significant sidewalk gaps as you walk up along Main Street and in some of the adjacent streets as well. So we want to look at having a continuous, if possible, continuous sidewalk. Not necessarily on both sides of the street because it has a cost to it, but looking how we can best provide and point of access from Groton Road to School Street. And also on here shows the high density residential populations. We just highlight that as, I guess the next slide gets into some of the pedestrian uses. This is also in the report from Strava, so it does show areas where there's higher pedestrian usage. So the areas of Lovett Lane, Burton Lane, to and from Bradford Road, Aberdeen Road, also Meadowbrook Road, and then Lynn Ave, to and from the cemetery at Twist. Those areas we see high, I guess we call them high uses of pedestrians. So that's something where we want to make sure we accommodate crossing of Main Street in a safe manner. So potential traffic calming opportunities at those locations. And then Groton Road and Main Street intersection and School Street also, those also intersection improvements. Next slide, please.
It's Newfield Pond.
It's Freeman. Yeah.
Freeman Lake, that's
Never
taken from
heard
the
of
Strava.
I've heard that.
I think it's had a few names, Crystal Lake has had a few names. And this is, I guess, another point of a data point, and it's really, I think, going back several years ago, raised the need to address this. Is we've had accidents over the years. There's been property damage resulting non-fatal injury. I know there was a fatal injury over in the 495 area as well, or Route 3 area as well. So this is as helpful as when they're looking at potential pedestrian vehicle conflicts, and it's areas where we could make some improvements or incorporation of traffic calming elements. And so it's School Street, the intersections clearly need some improvements, and then also along the way, you can see other areas where we have to address pedestrian accessibility.
Christine, right here, this yellow circle at
Yes.
Lovett in Maine, it says property damage only. There were 2 fatalities there. I don't know where they got their data from, but that's really off.
Yeah, because I know the report does say pedestrian fatality. The other thing too, though,
There's been
this
some-
only goes back 5 years, and I think the pedestrian fatality was just after 5 years.
Well, they weren't pedestrians either.
Or sorry,
They were automobiles.
the fatalities, I believe, were just over 5 years ago.
Okay.
So I'll
Sounds right.
confirm that,
Exactly.
because that was, so we got the report, we reviewed it, and so we know there's been a history of fatalities.
Yeah.
And then when we saw the data, we said, well, this isn't on here, so they have it noted in the report, and we can probably update this. When they do a traffic review, they look back at 5 years of data. So I believe, I'll confirm, but I believe that falls just out of 5 years.
Okay.
And we'll make it noted in the report. But I think it's good we can put a note in here. And then I guess while we stay on this slide, just to show you how we would potentially section to have the 3 projects. Again, I don't know in which order, but we have between School Street and Loisel Lane, that's likely one phase. The next phase is between Loisel Lane and just at the Route 3 crossing. And then lastly, from that Route 3 all the way to Groton Road. And again, the phases of School Street will include the intersection of School Street, and the phasing of Groton Road will include intersection of Groton Road. Next slide, please.
Does that intersection include the swing road too?
What's your question?
I can ask it at the end.
I mean, it will include the whole intersection,
Okay.
yes, the whole intersection, we'll look at that. And I know also roundabouts were discussed in the past potentially, and our preliminary findings that roundabouts are not recommended at either location. You say that, but we'll have more information as to what potential configuration or measures are proposed at those intersections. So what the next steps are is we're finalizing our recommendations internally, and we will be presenting that to the select board and then to this group. It's either gonna be February or March, I'll know within the next couple of weeks. And then we also wanna have once we have that information available, we'll also make our report available. We wanna have a public input session. It could be tacked onto this meeting, but I think it's important to hold it somewhere where people, especially some of this neighborhood will come.
We could hold it up.
So maybe hold it up at the senior center, might be a good location.
That's a good one.
So that likely would be the spring, no definitive timeline there. And then we're advancing the design. Our goal is to, once we have some public input session feedback, we have enough where we can advance 3-phase design to get those essentially shovel ready to bid out, whether we bid out in its entirety or in the 3 phases. And then lastly is this implementation and how we have the funding. Right now, we do not have funding secured. We'll keep this on our request list, or we have any grant opportunities. Or I know free cash is always a potential, we can always look at that as a candidate. So that's the next step. I was hopeful that we would be able to start this year, but I guess the great news is we're starting with the design, moving that forward, and then we'll have these projects ready to go. It will not be TIP eligible because we're not going through the TIP process. This is a whole separate process. We would have to go through their process, which is different than we do.
It has different requirements.
Very different requirements and much different design costs, I would say, and submissions, very different level of submissions. So that's what I have. It's a preview, and stay tuned. Thank you.
Any questions?
So you're saying earliest probably 27?
Well, I guess I can't say anything until we have the funding.
Right.
So in my head, honestly, I was hoping it would be this fall. Like, so if we had the funding today or July, I would probably start the phase 1 construction this fall. But we don't have the funding, so earliest would be next year.
Okay, then what, living in the area, what kind of calming devices are you thinking that work the best, that you'd probably propose in this area?
So there's various, there's rapid flashing beacons, there's also as you tee up intersections, you can get some speed humps.
The humps, yeah, I've seen those.
That's an option as well, so that's the thing, there's not just one recommendation, there's various recommendations, which is why it's important to get the neighborhood feedback too, to see what they want.
What was the one that they installed that people flipped out over?
Well, that was, so Mill Road and Raymond Road is still last, but I will say it works amazingly.
It's great.
Because the design speed and recommendation was 15 miles an hour, so it gets you to go that fast. So the design works, but you are going over 4 speed bumps.
Was that the one with the barrels? I don't know, I just remember some guy had a big sign in his yard about remove them.
Oh, I think you're talking about Main Street did a trial traffic calming several years ago, and
Yeah, it was awful.
That
It went very bad.
Mill Road, it works, but I would say that's a very severe case because it was very important to slow in that case to 15 miles an hour. Here, it's not going to be to that degree, but it is important if people are crossing. So it's definitely rapid flashing beacons, but you do something else. You could also do sometimes channel with medians.
Sidewalks?
Sidewalks sidewalks with vertical elements provide some element, but when we get to these high pedestrian crossing locations, that's where you probably need an added measure.
Reminds me of over in Westford by the golf course, they have the high sidewalks and the flashing light. It's pretty visual and that slows down a lot of people.
So we are looking at those as one part of the recommendation, but there'll be more. And so that all that information, like we have preliminary information, but that will be in the more detailed presentation. like I said, in either February or March.
Yeah, the radar works well, I think.
Yeah,
It's
your
the sign
speed, yeah, that is helpful too.
It reminds me to slow down.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, here it's, I think it's, we have a lot of areas where it's very wide and, so sidewalk will help, but there's more measures needed beyond sidewalk.
Speaking of funding, I assume you've vetted and it's probably not a good candidate for complete streets or sort of state funding opportunities.
So we are coming up to our next submission, so we can look at it. I think we did last year. And it didn't, I'm trying to think, we had Turnpike. We might be able to submit this year on that. I guess it's worth submitting. I believe Complete Streets does not allow you to fund the design and the implementation. So with it being designed, maybe it's a better candidate. So we'll look at that. I believe it's May, it's either April or May, so we're looking at this
Correct.
one submission.
Great. And if I had to make one comment, I would say the hardest intersection there is gonna be obviously the Broad Road intersection. Let's do that one first, so we don't leave it to the end. And it had the higher instance of crashes, et cetera.
So can I ask you a question that's separate about the area, just real quick?
Sure.
Has Lynn Ave ever requested to be a one-way? Ever? I've been
One
living there
way?
for 10 years.
Yes. There was the truck exclusion was.
No, but has the neighbors ever asked for, I would hate to live on that street.
Is that the one that cuts from?
Yeah.
So the only
And it's
request
two
I
ways.
know is a truck exclusion,
Right.
that was that when there were no truck signs put up, but we found that they weren't never documented. It has to be approved by the state, and it was not documented, so that's why
So
we
they
had to
come
take the
down.
signs down.
Crossing
We
the
also
center.
did some traffic data analysis and looking at the number of vehicles going down the street, and I don't think it was as significant as if I remember. I'd have to go back and look at it, but
Right.
I am not remembering there being a request for a one-way.
I just always ask, if I lived on that street, that'd be like,
Well,
the number one request. One way, I don't care what direction, just slow that traffic. So many cars.
Have you noticed like the uptick in Route 40, like traffic in general, like getting off the
Okay.
highway and having to take like left in either direction, you were waiting
You
and
can't get
waiting.
off, yeah.
It's awful, and then one way starts to loosen up, but the other way is coming heavy, it's really gotten bad.
Okay, anything else on Main Street? All right, the next agenda item was the business.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Christine. The next agenda item is the business representative and the business outreach. So, in November, Evan sent the flyer out to the businesses. It went through the post office mail to businesses who had a business certificate on file with the clerk's office. And we did not get any responses back from that in terms of interest for a business rep for the committee. I emailed again over the weekend to the email list that I sent to you guys late yesterday to help me review, and so we'll see if anything comes from that. But when we discussed this in November, we had also said that if we weren't getting feedback through the mailing that Evan did, that perhaps it would be worth having a couple or few people volunteer to distribute paper flyers, walk around and distribute paper flyers, because we know that mailing didn't cover everybody. Not everyone is required to have a business certificate on file, depending on the type of business you are. So I just want to put that out to the committee and see what would you like to do next. And do we think, it would be worth walking flyers around the square and maybe the mill and down Kingsborough Road a little bit?
Can't hurt.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
To at least posting
Face
their
to face
bulletin
helps.
boards is sort of a low barrier of entry version of that. Right?
Yeah, we can put it up at Rosie's or the Triangle Store, but I don't think you're gonna get the same.
Sure, yeah.
The commercial district business owners aren't going into those places, they're running their own business. Okay, so what kind of timing would we like to do this walk around, or do we have a couple or a few people that would volunteer to help cover some of this, if Evan helped us make copies of the flyers? Evan, you had indicated that you might be able to help us too.
Yeah, I can certainly assist in the walkthrough.
Okay,
Evan, do we have any contacts, like of the people within the mill building, like that owner of that property? He seemed to have a lot of people.
We
Did we
do,
reach out
yep.
to him? Did we reach out to him yet?
we've emailed him. I think he
Yep.
was on the email distribution that I sent out yesterday, and I thought, I don't know, Evan, I don't wanna speak with you, I thought we had talked about sending it to the property owner in November.
Which
I
we
have 3
did.
people I'm gonna reach out
Which
to.
we did,
personally.
yeah. Huh?
I have 3 people I'm gonna reach out to personally.
That'd be great. So what kind of time frame would you guys like to do a walk around? Or do we wanna just assign areas and people can go do it when they wanna do it? I just need.
Probably easier to do it as a group,
Okay,
and just split up areas, like pair up with people and just do it.
okay,
I don't know.
that's fine.
Sure.
So who's
I'll do the video.
volunteering? I can't do this all myself, so
No,
who's
right.
volunteering?
Look, I've been going through everybody up and down the street. I'm gonna call the 3 people I think that would do it.
Yeah. So Mike, you can help walk stuff around,
Yep,
Evan can,
so we already had the flyer made,
Brian
right?
can,
yeah, Evan would just have to reproduce it, Brian can help.
It's better to do it during the week, or it's better to do it on Saturday? You know?
depends on the business, I guess, right?
I don't know how many of them are open on Saturday. Depends where you're going.
And is this a flyer that if they're not there, you're gonna leave it in their mail, or maybe?
If there's a place to leave it.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Evan, do you wanna just throw out some dates or timeframes when you might be able to break free, or?
Yeah, my initial suggestion is maybe give Bill an opportunity. Generally speaking, this works best if there's a personal relationship
Right.
rather than a cold walk-in. So if Bill's able to, within the next week or two, if we can get positive feedback, then maybe we don't need to do the cold walk-ins.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm available generally during the workday.
yeah, that's right.
Okay. So Bill, why don't you give us some feedback when you have it, and then we'll work with Evan to
I will.
schedule.
And is it just vinyl square?
The mailing area covered basically, I think, Evan, it was like from the mills or maybe a little bit south of that, up through Tingsboro Road and a little bit of the Groton Road area coming out of the square.
Okay. But it should remain,
But in the commercial districts,
okay. Not the Triangle Store, not that.
they weren't part of it, no. Paul, I don't, that's too high, right? Yeah, I can agree. Okay, thank you.
Got it?
So now I just wanna kind of go around the room and see what updates people have. I put the standard punch list there. Anything, you wanna just give an update on the clock?
Sure, so we have a plan. It is, so like I said, we're on hold right now to do any digging, because of the moratorium with the state. And actually, we still have to send in one more plan for the permit, but, our goal is to basically, as soon as that moratorium is lifted, we'll do the trench excavation, to install the electric conduit. So we're targeting April 1st or mid-April for that. And then right now we're putting, I know we have the PDF that was put together of the proposed pocket park, but right now what we're doing is we're putting together the CAD plan to really show how many linear feet of curbing and the
I
layout.
know you can.
Oh, you have CAD?
I do, I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's right,
I
if you
know.
have CAD, that will help, we're doing it right now, but also we have the charging stations that are going in the parking lot, which is still to be completed. That should also be completed this spring. So we're looking at, I guess, what restriping is needed as part of the charging stations going in and also as part of this pocket park. So that will all be incorporated into this one plan. And so that plan should really be ready by February, or we're working on it now, even maybe sooner, so that we're ready to go for April. And then we would be able to do, all the clock installation. I have to set a date, so that's the thing, is I have to lock in a date with Verdon. I'm hopeful that would be either very end of April or early May. So targeting either early May or middle of May completion, I would say. And it won't be, we'll plantings or loam, we can figure it out. I know large areas proposes mulch right now, and then represent some flowers. And then I think the idea was that whatever amount of bricks we have, if that's expanded in the future, you could always change it in the future.
Okay, yeah, we want to try to do it for the Memorial Day parade, right?
Yes, that's the target. So
Yeah.
that would be ideal. And I don't see that change. The only issue is if Verdon says I have no availability, but I'm gonna email him tomorrow to try to lock in a date so that we hit that date.
Okay, cool. And I owe you the brick count. If you guys have figured out, make up a number, there's 200 bricks, we sold 50, what do I need to do with the other 150? Can you guys order them and I owe you money? How do I go about it?
Yeah, we'll have the layout like in the next few weeks, and then we can confirm that. And really, the brick area can change. Like if you have 50 bricks too. I mean, we obviously want it to look nice, but I don't know if we say it's 3 feet around the clock or 4 feet. But I have to figure out. I guess we can always tweak that too. So if you have 50 bricks and we show 5 feet around the clock, we could always edit it to 3 feet or 4. We could figure it out. We can tweak it too if needed, or we order more bricks.
Okay.
And Christine, I don't know if people noticed, but the wayfinding sign at the senior center was a victim of a hit and run. So there is no wayfinding sign at the senior center right now, and I'll let Christine update on where we are with that.
Sure, so it's currently at the DPW. We have a piece that could be purchased to fix it, but the cost to fix it versus the cost to replace it, it might make sense to replace it. So I guess the short answer is that we will have a backup as soon as the weather permits, so.
Did somebody slide into it in bad weather?
So it was a bad weather event and someone slid into it, we think, and we actually did see it on the camera at Senior Center, but we weren't able to get a license plate off of it, so.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Wasn't paying.
So we thought, I mean, we saw that it occurred, someone slid into it, got out of the car, and then.
Took off. Bad karma.
Is there any update on the Freeman Lake appeal?
So we have reached out to DEP today asking for an update. We do not have an update, unless Courtney Thompson, our stormwater engineer, received an update this afternoon, as of earlier this morning, no update. So, it'd be nice to have an update soon, so we're asking on a weekly basis if there's an update.
I'm assuming there's nothing on Verney Park.
There's one actually item, and if you want, I can present it next month, is I do have, and I presented to CPCs, we're proposing a second piece of Verney Park, the playground. That playground, as a parent, it's a great new playground, but it lacks, I guess, maybe some structure. There's different structures. One is more for 2 to 5, the other's 5 to 12. I think a piece that could be for all kids, or especially the 5 to 12, we have a spot remaining where we could put one more piece. There's a piece similar at, as part of this, the Rare Road Foundation approached us, and they wanted to put forth some money on a piece of equipment. So we looked at it. They have about $10,000 that they're looking to donate. We came for the piece of equipment, and it's an all-inclusive piece of equipment. So it's great because it's for all ages, and it's for all users, even someone in a wheelchair can use it. And that's the feedback. I received probably several calls this year where people say, I have a child that I know you have accessible playgrounds, but you don't have enough pieces where my kid can't get out of the wheelchair. And so this is a great opportunity it's basically I call it a merry-go-round spinning structure.
Nice. Awesome.
But you can put a wheelchair in it has benches in it too, and then kids can push it as well.
Cool.
And that, so we have a budget that's going, so that will go for a Springtown meeting. But I have a few slides if you want, I can present it at the next meeting. Or whenever I present the, which is, it's either February or March.
Evan or Paul, do you want to talk briefly about the Ledge Road status?
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
You know, we cut to the chase. There's a hearing scheduled for February 5th, which I think is the first Thursday in February, on the appeal by Newport to the amended order, enforcement order from the building commissioner, Jose Negro. So that's the chase. The long story is the matter is in the court, land court. Council chose this path because Newport wouldn't allow us to amend the complaint. We are trying to get the judge to focus on the zoning issue, not the access issue. And meaning the zoning issue, in other words, no one disputes, and the town never disputed that there was traditionally access from Ledge Road. And all we've been saying all along, and what we've heard from the neighborhood is they want to go back to the traditional traffic levels on which was allowed, because historically there's been a gravel pit there. So that's why the amended order was to clarify that. So now that's going to the Board of Appeals next month. We'll see how the board acts, and then most likely, if it doesn't act favorably to what Newport wants, then it'll return back to the land court. Anyway, so we will see how it plays out. It's just, as you know, just a time-intensive process to move through the land court. And we had originally thought that the hearing might take place this month, meaning last week, but Newport asked for it to be continued till February. And of course, that request was granted, because if he didn't grant the request, then he couldn't be seen as acting reasonably. We remain committed, we remain hopeful, but it just remains that it's going to take a certain amount of time for this to be resolved.
Thank you, Paul. Christine, traffic update?
Do we need anything in February 5th?
I think if a butter is showing up at the hearing, I know, you know, Val and others, it'll be at the senior center once again,
Yeah,
because.
Show up as the public if you.
Yeah, because, you know, but yeah, they're requesting use of the senior center once again, because that was really the best venue in terms of.
It'll be in the evening.
Traffic, yeah, it'll be at, traditional Thursday evening.
Christine, any other traffic updates?
No, I just, Mass DOT, as far as no traffic, I'm sorry, did you skip over Mass DOT?
No, that was part of it.
Oh, yeah, as far as that, so, from the fall town meeting, we do have that additional amount of funds to advance, the remaining piece of, Vinyl Square. We did check in with the state to make sure that they're able to fund, Vinyl Square in Richardson, post 25% design, that was the original intent. They have confirmed, they said I guess nothing's final yet, but they said advanced Vinyl Square to, we're still not through 20, so we've submitted 25% design, but then there's a process where the state has to accept it, and that takes time and coordination with our consultant. Also, we have to do that utility site review, where we have to do the full subsurface utility investigation through utility tracing. So we're advancing that piece to try to finalize, really get through. Our goal is to get through the 25% design.
Okay.
They didn't get out there before the winter. We're going to see with the weather pending, they can get up there a little sooner rather than later. So I'll try to have a updated schedule for the next meeting on Vinyl Square. Richardson, so in that same kind of discussion with Mass DOT, I wanted to confirm the town's level of effort. We pushed back a little just because a lot of that is state right of way, and if we were to fund that through 100% design, that is a lot of funding on the tip. So I just asked them to consider. I guess the question that I had is, could it be one project? Could it be, because originally it started as a request for just Richardson Road, and then we extended the core all the way to Technology Drive, and so is there a way to kind of piece it, and so they're evaluating.
And that was at their suggestion, that was MassDOT.
Yeah, they suggested
Originally, it
that
was
we
a traffic
extend it.
signal at Richardson Road, and then MassDOT said, well, why don't we extend it up to Technology?
Right,
And then, so we did that, and now they come back and say, well, then you pay for 100% of the design, like, what?
and we've already spent $140,000 doing all the assessment, and so
I think really what most people wanted was the traffic light.
Yeah.
And we also submitted for a grant for that wasn't eligible because it's state right of way. So we're on hold right now until we have some further, and the focus is gonna be Vinyl Square. We wanna see that through and then see what we can do with Richardson as far as the light goes. So that's the
Okay.
next request. And then no other traffic issues that I'm aware of.
Evan, do you have any general business items of interest or housing?
Yeah, two quick updates. First one is 255 Princeton Street. Alexon is moving very close to final occupancy and finishing up that project. They're in the process of getting final building inspections for the last building to receive occupancy. And then at the last planning board meeting, the board approved the modifications to 133 Princeton Street, the beverage liquor store. My understanding is that that project is also advancing with 2 temp COs. They have a variety of punch list items, but they're asking the building commissioner to consider a temp CO. That's all I have.
Temporary certificate of occupancy.
Oh, okay.
They also have to go to the select board to modify the liquor license.
Right.
We expect that'll happen next month. Or later this month.
It's for the tasting.
Well, it's not gonna be a tasting area, the last we were told. So it shouldn't be a controversial modification. The building changed, and we have to submit that to the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission for approval.
What was it they said? I thought they said it was they were gonna have samples and stuff like that.
There were not many things said that were gonna go on up there at the hearing, if anybody attended it.
No, I just remember at the planning board when they came back.
Paul, is there any update on the boat ramp or Watton Field?
Yes,
Yeah, no, Evan, did you wanna talk about the business where the old Courier Citizen at,
Whenever you bring that up.
what's the name of the street that goes into Williamsburg?
Wellman.
Wellman Ave, Evan. They're in, right, as far as we know?
They are, and I don't have a lot of specifics on that, because I just can't recall the name of the company, what they do. I'll email it out.
It's a testing company.
I think like environmental testing.
Yeah, and they were out of Acton and they relocated. And we thought they want to do some kind of a recognition or so forth, and then they just went in. So maybe with the better weather and season.
Yeah, the big takeaway with this is they've purchased the property, moving their entire operation to Wellman Ave. So that's a good long-term use for that property in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Thank you. The boat ramp, Paul? Still?
Boat ramp. Good news is on the boat ramp, it's cleared all the environmental and permitting hurdles. It's out to bid by the Department of Conservation and Recreation. And I think
it's in 2 weeks.
2 weeks of bids are due, and the requirement is to have it constructed by this fall.
Cool.
And so as I would expect, and normally the spring is high water season, so the thought of the fall would be they get past the spring water season, put in the barriers and then do the work. But if we keep in this drought status, they'll let them go earlier. I mean, but the good news is by this fall, the boat ramp should be completed.
And the parking lot lease?
You know, I've sent it to Kevin Broderick twice before the holidays. Once following fall town meeting approval, and then a second time in December, and I've not received a response back. I don't know, Bill, are you anyone in touch with him?
I can give him a call.
Could you do that?
Yeah.
That would be helpful, because I don't wanna be a haunt, but on the other hand, the April's coming up. So yeah, if you can do that though, that would really be
I will
helpful.
do that.
Any movement on the Verizon cell tower improvement?
No, they keep changing locations, they keep asking for conservation parcels, so the answer is no. I keep asking them, I said, I need an image, if you wanna put it in Richardson Road, we need some kind of a depiction to show the neighborhood and the relevant boards and committees the view shed of what it would be like, and they've not produced. And it's, instead they keep dancing around different locations. That I keep telling them, no, that's not gonna work, because those are all conservation lands. Because the latest one, believe it or not, was to put it on top of a national grid structure on that, that runs through conservation land. I said, just because the national grid has a structure there, which probably has been there for decades, doesn't mean that it's allowable for any utility. So short answer is it's a little frustrating that they're not coming back with any efforts in it. And it's like anything else, you deal with the person, then 4 weeks later, say, oh, that person's not handling this anymore, I'm working with, and then you get nowhere. So short answer is no progress.
Okay. And Brian, thank you and everybody for the holiday tree lighting. It was really great evening.
Yeah.
Anything for the library?
Nothing major to report.
You know what, I have one update facility wise, is that we are working on the McKay Library, so we've been fortunate to work on the Adams Library, but we have the funding now to finish the ramp in the back and the door. So we're advancing the design of that, and also the front entrance.
Great.
Looking at upgrading to improve accessibility to the front, and also, I think the ADA accessibility will be in the rear. But also just looking at improving that front walkway as well, and the steps.
Okay.
So I would say, potentially some spring work for the front steps, and the rear would be sometime spring or fall.
Great.
Of this year?
Or sorry, summer or fall. I think so, yeah. That's the goal.
Does anyone have anything else? Okay, is there any public comment? The only two things I wanted to hit on the future agenda topics, Laura, you were gonna try to get with the historical commission on those items from the plan.
Yeah,
Do you
I think
we-
I'm hoping to go in February. I have to reach out and make sure I can join them. I couldn't
Okay.
go this month, but I should be able to go next month.
So we could put it on the March agenda?
Yes, March agenda, because their meeting is after this one.
Okay.
And I do have the 3 points. I know last time you wanted just a quick update. I can give it to you now, or I could email it to you. But what I had just via email of the 3 items that they thought we should still pursue. One is signs, putting signs on houses. So I can talk to them in more detail about that. One was the National Register District. It's very tricky. I know I've been involved in discussions about this before. So they thought that should be a long-term goal we could possibly explore. We need a lot of education and community meetings. So again, I'll talk further, but that's a hard one. And then the third one that we thought we could still pursue was the walking tour. They do have a copy of, there is an old tour that was created by George Merrill, and she did find it, she has it. So we're going to talk about that and see if it's something, how we would go and update that and implement it. So we have 3 things we plan to talk about, and I'll see if they have any other ideas while I'm there. Sometimes they have lots of good ideas, so we'll see what they say.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
And then the second thing on the future agenda topics was the committee wanted kind of a timeline of the activities related to Vinyl Square. So Christine and I are gonna start, we're getting together next week, so we should be able to come back in February or March with something. The next meeting dates I have are March 2nd and, I'm sorry, February 2nd and March 2nd. Everybody still okay with that? And it's 8:47, I'll take a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Sure.
Second by Brian. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Say aye.
Yeah.
See.
One for 1 year and